So I want to talk about another thing that's not typically associated with marketing, but it's been one of it's actually something I started doing a long time ago when I first started doing design. And client for client, this is what's brought me the most work. And it's so simple that I almost feel kind of stupid having to demonstrate it. But what I would basically do is email every company that offers the service that I'm trying to provide. And when you start looking at it, I work in the U.S. So if you start looking at how many different people offer that service, how many different companies offer that service, if you go through every town, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of companies that can possibly hire you. Now, this maybe isn't the most typical way of doing it. But in my downtown, let's say, for example, when I was trying to get graphic design work, I would go, let's say, for example, I'm going to start with, I'll just start with Atlanta, okay? So Atlanta web design. And you can do Atlanta web design, or you can do Atlanta graphic design, or whatever. And so here we go. I start getting results. And basically it sounds really, basic, but I would literally just go in and start, I don't know why my computer's so slow. Opening a new tab. Open a new tab. Open a new tab. Open a new tab. Sometimes you can find websites that are like a full listing of all graphic design firms. And I really, I can't tell you if this is a stupid way of doing things or whatever. However, these are, for example, this is the first page of web design. Chances are, I don't know, they're probably not going to have a job for me. They're probably not going to work out. But what I'm going to do is contact each one of these. So I'll hit contact. While that loads, I'll click on the next one, contact me, next one. I'll wait for that one to come up. Contact, where is it? And not every place has a, easy to find contact. If you can't find it or whatever, just skip it, because we really are trying to put the word out to as many companies as possible and just send a direct email to them. And I want you to understand the numbers on this. For every 100 emails that I send out, I might get 2 or 3 responses back. And for every one of those, I might get, maybe one that'll hire me. So it's not, pound for pound, it's not the best way to do things. And there's a lot of people who will tell you, hey, you want to research the company that you want to learn all this stuff about them, and then send them a really detailed email and blah, blah, blah. And I do the exact opposite. I do exactly, what a lot of people would say is the wrong thing to do. But all I can say is it's worked for me in the past. I've had hundreds of different clients that are graphic design companies simply because I sent them an email that was at the right moment. Now, obviously, this isn't the only way that you should be out there promoting yourself. And you can promote yourself directly to clients, friends, people that are, that you found through your email list, or people that you found through social marketing, or even just direct emailing people or references, whatever. But in your downtime, if you're really hungry and you're really looking for a way to find people, all I can say is this is what I've done. And, I tell people this sometimes and they don't believe me. So here's your contact for Eclipse Web Media. You click on that. And what I'll typically have, here's my email. Let me just get rid of that. I'll put something like graphic designer. And I'll write a letter, Hi. I am writing to see if your company is ever in need of a, whatever, graphic designer. or you can put ebook design. Well, it all falls under that. Whatever you want to do, that's what you ask for. And the key to this isn't the letter. The key is that you're going to link to your website. And that website needs to be flawless. It needs to be a really nice, it doesn't have to be your design. And most people that work with WordPress don't design the site that they have. If you see a site in WordPress that a company has, chances are they had a template and then they had a guy modify it. And even the templates they come designed to a certain point, but most of them you can modify them with a thing called shortcodes, and you can put plugins and all kinds of stuff to them. So it's perfectly fine as a designer to use a template from WordPress. Now, I personally have modified mine, but I'm not a programmer, so I'll show my programmer the design that I come up with, and he'll put it together. So anyway, have that nice link to your site, and that's it. Most of these people you won't hear from them, but if you do hear from them, the chances are that they're interested, and then you can start talking about pricing. Now, I'll give you one tip about pricing. You never have any idea what the expectation is going to be. Since you're randomly talking to all these people, you could be in a circumstance where, like in a town where people want to charge $25 per hour for graphic design. You could be talking to somebody that expects you to charge $50 or $75 or even $100 an hour. You have no idea. So one of the keys to getting them to kind of give up that information is just to try as much as possible to get them to say the price first. And that's something that's true in any sort of sales negotiation. Always try to get an idea of what the price is. And if they keep asking you what your price is, say something like, well, I would need to know more about the thing, or whatever, but do whatever you can to try and not say your price first. Because you can end up getting, and sometimes you don't have a choice. You have to say, okay, blah, 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 this is what I charge or whatever. And, that's just the way it goes. But try as much as possible not to say any actual numbers. Okay? I think that's about it for this. But, I know it sounds kind of silly, but just really go into Google and every day do a different city, Look at, there, even just in Atlanta, there are hundreds of graphic design firms. So, let's say, okay, first you're going to do Atlanta, then you can do Athens, then you can do Savannah, then you can try kind of spend one day doing all of Georgia, then the next day do all of Florida, the next day do all of North Carolina. And eventually you're going to find people that are going to give you work as long as you've kind of built up a little bit of a portfolio. They don't want perfection. They don't want, what they want is somebody who can do the work that needs to be done. And that's it. And you might even offer to, I don't recommend this, but you could even offer to do I don't really want to say a spec project, but to work under your typical rate. So that's also another way to get around the whole concept of what they charge. You can say, look, for the first project, I'll charge you, put a lowball number on it. But after that, if you like the stuff, then I'd like to, continue working with your regular rate. And so, try it like that. Anyway, that's about it. One of the other things that I'm probably going to talk about in another lecture is you need to build up your portfolio a little bit. You need to have at least 4 or 5 examples of work that you've done, that you actually done, so that when people see what your portfolio is, and one of the secrets to this is try to do something that looks kind of high profile. If let's say for example, you put together like a book for somebody that somebody would know, that they would recognize. You don't have to say that person didn't actually hire you to do the work. The thing is that you can show that you did that. You know what I mean? So let's say, for example, you want to do a design for, I don't know, I keep using J.K. Rowling's, do something that is a design for somebody that they would know. And that will kind of instantly for them say, oh, wow, that they're working at that sort of higher level. but you don't actually have to have done any work for them. And don't lie about it. Don't say you did. Just kind of let it be out there. I had a friend who shot commercials, and whenever he was shooting commercials in the time that he had extra, he would put brands, like he would put Nike in the commercial, and he came up with this portfolio later, this reel of his work, and it's like, Nike kept showing up in his work and everything, and all of his clients kind of assumed that he was getting work for Nike, and he got a lot of gigs that way. And most people never asked, hey, were you actually working for Nike? No, he just put the shoes in there to make it look like he was getting big time gigs. So, all right, that'll do it.